I've heard that you're a very avid book reader as well, in the spare time that you do get, if you do ever get that during the year, I know your downtime and your leisure time is about reading and expanding your knowledge, which is what I've been told, and following your...
Told by who?
I cannot reveal my sources at this point in time. I'd love to know 3 books you would recommend to the world, actually.
Oh my God, that's it. Don't say 3. Okay, fine. I'm probably going to speak about authors rather than books. 1, Chinua Achebe is one of my... he's my grandfather. He doesn't know it well. Rest in peace, but he's my grandfather. And from Chinua, my biggest thing that I like about him is that he's authentic. He's not like cute authentic. He truly is authentic. When he writes about Nigeria and when he writes about his experience as a native Nigerian man, he writes about that life. He makes you fall in love with being African. And you love it. And you see its legitimacy. Africanism doesn't always have legitimacy. It's like, why are you guys sitting over there lazy? Yeah. But everybody must read Chinua. He is...
Give me 1 book to read.
I think start with the most popular one, Things Fall Apart.
Sure.
It's a very popular one. There's Arrow of God. There's it's a trilogy. Arrow of God, Things Fall Apart, and A Man of God or something of sorts. Can't remember it. But they are amazing books. I've read them.
All right.
The second author that I like is Henry C. Cloud. I've actually only read one of his books which captured my heart.
Which was?
Never Turn Back. And Never Turn Back was one of those books that unpacks the issue of patterns in lives. Why you should, when you leave something, why do you leave it? But if you decide to go back, why do you go back to it? For me, it was just a book full of lessons.
Sure.
That I think are necessary for adulthood.
Sure.
If I broke up with you and I decide to get back together with you, why am I getting back together with you? Is it because you, 1, have changed? 2, have I changed my attitude towards the thing that bothered me about you? Or 3, has, something about the whole situation changed? It's like that kind of thing. It was just a very rich book that I read. I was probably a bit younger when I read it. Probably need to revisit it, but I thought it was a very rich book. The third author that I like, and I'm torn between Khalid Hosseini and Ian Levanzant. I'll probably go for Khalid because he's a heartbreakingly talented author.
Sure.
That gives you, that teaches you how to self-express. Gives you the vocab to explain things you didn't know how to explain before. He writes catastrophe and disaster and tragedy in a very romantic way. But he also wakes you up to the reality of life's imperfections and the fact that there isn't always happy endings to everything. Some stories have happy endings. Some stories don't have happy endings. Some stories are tragic. Some are beautiful.
So he's a novelist.
He is. So he wrote Kite Runner, he wrote A Thousand Splendid Suns, he wrote And the Mountains Echoed. These are the 3 main books he wrote. Recently he dropped a small poetry book about the refugee child, the Syrian refugee child who was drowning, who was washed ashore in the sea, the one with the red top. I can't remember the title, but I read the book. It was very short. You read it in minutes. But he's an amazing writer, and he wakes up to the realities of life and its tragedies and its beauties. And if you're a one-sided or minded person, he balances your thinking out. If you're too cynical, he makes you hopeful. If you're too hopeful, he blends a bit of cynicism in you.
Oh, wow. Okay.